Hey, what's going on? It's Aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2018 Alfa Romeo Fantasy Career Mode here at Motorsport Manager. If you did miss the previous episode, which was the finale of last season, Season 4 at Doha, be sure to check that one out before you see this one, Max Verstappen's first race for us in the Alfa Romeo team. But now we're moving on into the pre-season region. We have a lot of work to do, actually. You know, we've got to get the prize money, got to figure out next year's car, and then more importantly, actually seeing how the grid shuffles up, because we've got a lot of potential for some, a lot of big changes, because we've got a lot of drivers, including the likes of Hamilton, who've only got 1 month left on their contract. So it'll be a question mark to see if Mercedes re-sign Hamilton. They just signed Ricciardo, remember last episode, but even Ricciardo's contract, weirdly enough, only lasts for 1 month. They literally sign him on a huge lucrative deal for literally just 1 month. I believe the same thing could be said for some other guys. Let's have a look here and just kind of look through. So the other kind of switch was Bottas to Red Bull. That's for 1 month only as well. So, me signing Verstappen actually triggered a lot of stuff. So I'm actually doubly happy I went ahead and got Verstappen. It was between, remember, Vettel and Verstappen, but Vettel wouldn't have really triggered any domino effects, to be honest, mate. The only domino would have maybe been Ricciardo, maybe to Ferrari instead. But I think, this counter-reaction of also us releasing Carlos Sainz. Sainz is now at Red Bull. That's a longer-term deal, so our old driver Sainz will be at Red Bull for a long term. But what's going to happen with Bottas, Ricciardo, Hamilton? Let's see what Vettel's contract. Vettel's only got 1 month left as well, so where is he going to be off to? Is he going to stick with the Scuderia? It's a lot to play for. And also, we've got the likes of, remember I talked about Sauber coming back into F1 with Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi. Their car was really good in F2 last season. They literally thumped F2, so how they're going to perform next season, and also just for the new season, because we've got points for all the drivers. We've got points for all the drivers. We've got driver aids, which kind of equalizes the driving standards a little bit more, and it means the car affects things a lot more than it has done in the past. Whereas, before, if you had good enough drivers, you can kind of drag the car up a little bit, and that's exactly what I've done, basically. Time and time again with Motorsport Manager, it's been a case of I've always gone for better drivers than my car is actually worth, and that's allowed me to drag the car up into positions that it doesn't usually warrant. So, I think next season is going to be really interesting that. And also, there's no safety car. There's only the virtual safety car in next season. So we can't get lucky with the safety car anymore. Neither can the AI. But, interesting to see as the season's gone by. Obviously, we started all the way in Season 6. And we didn't get a single win there. Mercedes dominating with 11. Ferrari 4 wins. Move on to Season 2. 14 again for Mercedes. Well, they became even more dominant in the second season. They got 14 to just 1 for Ferrari, 1 for Force India. We jumped up the order, obviously. Then the next season, Season 3, we got 2 wins. Mercedes 10, so we took some wins off them. Red Bull, Ferrari, and Force India with 1 apiece. And then this last season, we got the 10. Mercedes fell off the cliff with only 2 wins there. Red Bull 2, Ferrari 1, and we became the #1 Italian team in Formula 1. But of course, Nico Rosberg will be departing our team. Well, I'm not going to re-sign him. I want a fresh challenge, trying to continue to grow Leclerc, because I've had him since Season 1, but also growing Max Verstappen now, who's, if you look closely enough, they're pretty equally matched. Verstappen a little bit better, but they've both got good potential, so that's going to be interesting to see. But let's move on then into the brand new season, getting the prize money for this season. Coming in first place gets us 57.4 million there. Add that onto the 23.7 million I already have, and we get 81.2 million. Manager of the season goes to me. Thank you very much, Jean Todt. And driver of the season goes to Charles Leclerc. Somehow, not Nico Rosberg for getting so many wins. Like, how many wins did he get this season? Like, I think he got 8 of the 10 that we had. Driver details, he got 7 wins. He got 7 wins, and then Leclerc ended up getting 3 wins there. So, obviously, Leclerc's the younger guy, so maybe it counts for more. But I'm surprised that Rosberg didn't get driver of the season. But hey-ho, anyway, he got the championship. That's the only prize that matters for Nico Rosberg. And now he can go, I don't know, retire or something. He probably will end up in another team, but I'm guessing it won't be in Formula 1, maybe, because he's a bit too old for the AI teams to maybe sign him. You never know. Yeah, that would be quite an interesting plot to see if Rosberg went to a rival team now in F1 after we've dropped him. But I doubt that'll actually happen just due to his age in the game. But we're going to move ahead now, and we need to move on to the process going into next season. So now the new rules are in effect. Points for all drivers. Virtual safety car only, driver aids. promotion. So I said Sauber going to be back up with Piergassi and Giovinazzi. I'm very intrigued to see how Sauber do back in F1. They were in F1 for 3 seasons. They got dropped last season in the series, so they're back. And they might be back with a vengeance because they're very, very good. Honda moved down into F2, so they didn't do very well. I can't actually remember who their drivers were. Complete no ones that I knew of, so there you go. Yeah, they didn't do very well last season, did they? And then going up to F2 is Brabham, and then going down is BMW. So that's a shame to see, but there you go. So that's moving into next season now. We're going to move on to pre-season starting and the new Formula 1 car. Now, there were some guys... Oh, we got sponsors as well. There were some comments about improving the HQ. Obviously, I do want to do that as well, but at this stage, I don't want to spend the money on an HQ before we make the new car. So I'm going to get the car done, then I'll look into building on the HQ, because I don't want to overspend on the HQ and not have enough money for a good car, because, like I said, with the driver aids, the car performance is going to be more important than ever. So now we're going to go to slot 2. Now, these are one of the slots that I waited on. And there were a few comments saying, why was I waiting for the sponsor? This is why, because now we've got 3 fixed payment sponsors rather than 3 dependent sponsors on my position, and this is much better for us as a team because we've already got Adidas for 6 more races on the dependency result. So looking at all these guys, the right hand one, Alf, that's not going to be one. So it's between TW Steel and Total, 32 races. That's quite a long time. 20 million up front though, which is quite a bit up front. But if you divide that up, 20 million, let me just do this on the calculator on my phone. Divide by 32, that's 625,000 per race. So that's less money per race than TW Steel. And if we go with TW Steel, we're getting more per race, and it's a faster time to then renew and get a new sponsorship. Obviously, the difference is this is upfront, this is fixed per. I'd rather go for fixed per, because the upfront payment might help with an HQ upgrade, but I'm thinking long term, I really honestly think this season will be a bit of an R&D race, I think, because we don't have a Rosberg where he's going to dominate in the lead. We've got Verstappen and Leclerc. We know how inconsistent Leclerc can maybe be. Verstappen started off well last race, but I haven't figured him out yet. So I just don't know. So I'd rather have money coming in every single race where we can spend money on upgrades consistently rather than doing it all at the beginning and then kind of doing a Brawn GP and not having enough to the end. So that's what I'm going to go with. And also, like I said, I kind of like the idea that we'll renew the sponsor a lot faster. So TW Steel is on the car. Where's that actually going to feature on the car? On the engine cover. That's pretty okay. And then we got slot 6. These are all fixed payments. Not fixed payments, I should say, based on the position. They're not very good, though. Slot 6 is not very good. Adidas, we got a much better deal there. Even though this only goes for 6 races, these aren't very good. So we're going to wait and hang tight. I mean, to be honest, we're still getting a lot of money per race. Nearly 2.6 million to be exact. You know, the big one being Red Bull. I mean, literally, it's a godsend, this Red Bull deal we signed, because 2.3 million per race is so much. It's actually just it's a ridiculous amount of money. So I'm still so happy that we signed this Red Bull deal. And actually, funny enough, in the end, we ended up with a Red Bull driver, Verstappen. So quite funny how that worked out, really. And we sent one the other way. Carlos Sainz to Red Bull Racing for a long-term contract. So we're going to move on then, get to the pre-season beginnings, and we're going to build our new car, and then we're going to look at what's going on with the driver market, because whilst the car's being built, that's when the drivers can kind of start to swap around, because there's still the 1 month left on the contract still goes on for a little bit longer. So we're going to build this car, and then we'll move on and update you guys on how the field's looking. So we get nearly 20 million, 19.9 million from the squirreling away we did. We did the fat stacks, remember? So the highest amount we could put away over the course of the season. So now we end up with 101.1 million to spend. Over 100 million. That sounds and feels very, very good. So let's have a look here now and see what we're going to work with. Remember last year's supplier? We did a V8 Turbo last year, Golf, Dallara, and Bosch Motorsport. No ERS, obviously, to work with. Let's have a look now. The base stat modifier was 67 last year. 67 again would be the V8 Turbo. For 4 million less, we could do a V8 Supercharge, which is 56 base stat and 4 million less. I don't know, honestly, how much that base stat's going to affect things, but I would consider it just to make the car a little bit cheaper to allow us maybe more money to develop into the HQ and stuff. But at the same time, it is a year where the car's the most important, maybe more so than drivers. So maybe I do want to spend those big bucks once again on the V8 Turbo with the max base stat, as my voice went there for a sec. Apologies. Right, we're gonna leave that for a sec. Fuel supplier, I think we'll go with Golf again. That's the cheapest one out of all of them. That gives us very strong and very strong. So yeah, so we'll go with Golf again. Again, probably Dallara, because very strong, very strong. Brake supplier, we went with Bosch last time. We could go with Magneti Marelli, because those are both 11 million. Let me see, is there any difference? There's literally no difference. I'm just going to go with Magneti Marelli this time around, purely for the sake of they're an actual sponsor of our car. Like, they sponsor our car, so we may as well go for them to have a bit of synergy, some fake synergy, even though it doesn't really matter. And then we're just left with the engine. So, 41 means that 80 million cost, or 84 million, so 3 point something more for about a base stat of 11 added on. I think it's worth it, and I think actually, yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, that is the same amount we spent on last year's car. So, I'm fine with that. I'd be a little bit pissed off we were paying more than last year's car, but we're not. So, no-brainer, really. Got to go for the base stat modifier. That's all that really matters. All three of these engines are very, very strong on these departments, so it's really just about looking at the base stat, and that's the highest one. So, logic dictates. We'll go for the V8 Turbo once again. It was good to us last season. It will be good to us this year, and also, we don't need to faff around with any dilemmas. If there's any dilemma emails that crop up, don't need to worry. We can just push them aside because we've got 5-star on tyre wear, tyre heating, fuel efficiency, and approvability. So, you can't see it, but I'm doing a thumbs up right now in the air because we're A-OK. Best possible way we can build this car for next year. Then it's all going to be about what we do with the HQ, how the drivers perform, and then obviously this time round, I think upgrades. We didn't do much upgrading last year because our car was very, very strong actually compared to the others, and Rosberg was pulling a lot of his weight. But I think the upgrades this time around are going to be a big part of this season. I think we're going to be spending money constantly on upgrades. So 84.8 million, I'm good with that. Confirm, and we're still going to have 16.3, a cool 16.3 million in the bank. I'm happy about that. We had a lot of money to burn this time around this season. I feel like last season we were a little bit closer because I was pushing the car quite a bit at the end of it. But we're good. So the car's going to get built, and I guess we'll cut on to later in the pre-season when we're ready to design the new livery of the car. And also, we'll check out what the driver order is looking like in this new season. Right, so this is our brand new car for Season 5, guys. Going off the back of, obviously, we switched it up to the Red Bull livery last season, halfway through, when we had that big sponsor deal with Red Bull. And, you know, I think we all agreed that'd be kind of, like, cool to pretend as if Red Bull basically bought us out, because they are pretty much our entire sponsorship. Like, 2.3 million per race is a literal fuck ton, excuse my language, but it literally is just a ridiculous amount of money we're getting from Red Bull. So, you know, we went with that idea, and I think this year, I think it'd be kind of cool just to go off that and make it look a bit more Red Bully, but it's still got, you know, the Alfa Romeo red colours as a baseline there, but just a bit more of a Red Bull car, really. But, I mean, to be fair, there's not much I can do with the livery. We've only got 2 Red Bull liveries to work with, which is the Red Bull Racing one or the Toro Rosso style one. So I'd rather go with this one. This one looks better out of the 2. And also remember, I mean, pretty much not even half, like 80% of the time, 90% of the time, you're not even going to see what the livery actually looks like zoomed in like this. The only time you'll see it is when I'm at the loading screen like this, but on track you're hardly going to notice. So we've got a little bit of time left until the cars are actually made and we get to see what the kind of pecking order is like. But we already know some of the bonker driver lineups because it is elapsed. We have passed January or December even, and that's when the kind of, you know, the contracts are all running out. Now, Rosberg is already not part of the team. We've got a random reserve driver. I technically actually probably maybe should look into a cheap young driver to try and sign. I think I'll do that in a bit, but Rosberg's gone now. His contract run out. But remember, we had Hamilton with his contract running out. We had Ricciardo with his contract running out. Bottas running out. I think Sainz had a longer-term deal at Red Bull that he signed at the end of the last episode of Doha, like I mentioned. We had Vettel also at the end of his contract. And let's take a look at the driver transfers, because I'm pretty sure most of them would have been done by now. We've only got, like, you know, a month to go until preseason starts. So I'm pretty sure usually the game and the AI don't do transfers that late till preseason. So I think this is pretty much going to be the lineup then for this next season, Season 5. So obviously we've got Leclerc and Max Verstappen there. We'll try and get some other kind of reserve driver. Obviously, yeah, I didn't show it, but we re-signed our designer and our mechanic. We didn't need to change that. That was fine. So we're going to move on ahead to Force India. They've kept with Sergio Perez and Kevin Magnussen. They had that from last season. K-Mag obviously came in last year for them, but they keep that. I think that both of them on longer-term deals. We move to Haas. Grosjean is there still, but they've now signed Felipe Massa. I think Massa was Williams last year, so they've signed Massa from Williams. So it's now Massa, Grosjean, and then Ekstrom is a reserve driver, I'm going to guess. Yeah, reserve driver there. So I think he went from... I think he was a lead driver for one of the teams, but now he's a reserve driver for Haas. We go to McLaren. They've lost Fernando Alonso. Remember, they had Alonso, then they lost Alonso to Toyota. Then Alonso came back to McLaren last year. They've now re-lost him. I don't know where he's gone. We'll have to check that out. But Paffett is now driving alongside Krahammer, as they're the two main drivers for McLaren. Obviously, they've never really been anywhere in the entire series, really. They've just kind of been at the back of the F1 season, but they've never been bad enough to get relegated, of course. We move to Mercedes, and they've retained Ricciardo, but they have lost Hamilton. Hamilton did not re-sign. Ricciardo did re-sign. Kind of not surprising for Ricciardo, because Ricciardo literally signed for one race for Doha, so it would have been weird for him not to re-sign for an actual good contract. They've kept on Verline as a reserve driver. I'm going to assume that means that this guy, I've never heard of him, Yanni, I'm guessing he's good enough to beat out Verline then, because that would be kind of odd for them not to promote Verline. But yeah, they've got now Yanni and Ricciardo, so they've got one really great driver in Ricciardo, but I don't know how good Yanni is. We move to Red Bull. They've re-signed Bottas and Carlos. Sainz was already there on a longer-term deal when we gave him up. But Bottas signed at Doha, and he was a similar position as Ricciardo and Hamilton. He had one month left on the contract. He's re-signed for Red Bull on an actual longer-term deal. So Red Bull looking pretty good, but at the same time, you've got to say Red Bull with a great driver and then an okay one. Mercedes with a great driver, and then I don't even know what Yanni is. I don't know if he's an okay driver or not. Renault got Kobayashi and Hulkenberg and Sorokin there, so they pretty much stay put. I think they had those lineups last season. We've got Sauber with Sebastian Vettel. He has left Ferrari. He had 1 month left on his contract as well. So Ferrari and him have not re-signed. He actually got fired, I think, from Ferrari. And then Gasly was already there with Sauber from their F2 season in Season 4. So they've replaced Giovinazzi with Vettel. So that's a madness. Ferrari have then stolen Giovinazzi from Sauber. So it's almost like a swap deal. But Giovinazzi's gone to Ferrari now. Ocon was on a longer-term deal. And so Gio's now out of the team. So I guess maybe they thought that they were like, oh, Italian teams. Yeah, we'll sign an Italian, basically. We move to Toro Rosso. Lance Stroll and Hartley are still there. Hartley's injured, though. Galel is the reserve driver. Actually, have these guys got any interesting reserve drivers? Red Bull have got Vishure, who's got a lot of potential, the 19-year-old, so he's a good reserve driver. Actually, to be honest, I might try and see. Can I nick him at all? Ooh, he's interesting. I might try and nick Vishure, to be honest, because might try and just make their... I mean, we've got a half Red Bull team anyway, so we might as well try and nick their reserve driver, because he's quite good, actually, so I'll hold on to that thought. But, yeah, so then we move on to Toyota, and Toyota signed Jenson Button. So Button is back in F1 at the age of 40 alongside Timo Glock. They've got a very old team. Glock, Button, and Buemi. Williams have signed Hamilton. That's where Hamilton went. Hamilton, Lynn, double British team. They actually look okay, to be honest. Hamilton and Lynn. That's an okay line. But you've got to say, I really like the fact that all these contracts were due to end for Season 5. Because what it's mean is the AI, the way they've signed things, they've actually spread themselves out really well. Because now we've got like a couple of teams with one really great driver and then a so-so driver. Like Ocon and Giovinazzi are maybe the only odd ones out. They're kind of equal, but Vettel and Gasly, the same for Ricciardo and Gianni, Bottas and Sainz, all very, very spread out. So Ferrari and ourselves at Alfa Romeo are the only ones. I'm curious to see where Fernando Alonso ended up, because he was in McLaren. He's now at Porsche. He's doing LMP1. How about that? Because Porsche in LMP1. How about that? Just like real life. Or maybe like real life. Alonso is interested in WEC. has gone far, and so now he's a main driver for Porsche in LMP1. Good on him, good on him. And I think Nico Rosberg is unemployed. So yeah, he's I don't know if he's going to sign to a team, but for now, he's literally doing what I said he would do. Be unemployed and just relax and just chill out at the age of 34. So pretty crazy, pretty crazy. That's gonna be very, very intriguing for the entire lineup. It also depends on how good everyone's cars are for next season. Of course, they're all still being built for pre-season, but very, very interesting. Right, it's time for pre-season testing then. Let's see how this goes. Start testing here. Obviously, it really does not mean anything whatsoever. I mean, the timings, the issues, but we go through pre-season. In terms of morale, that's the only thing that it will mean. We've got overheating issues for Leclerc, and issues also for Verstappen, I think. We've got overheating issues for both the cars. So, negative morale for Verstappen. So, he's a little bit annoyed with that. Leclerc's fine. So, morale-wise, we're good. So, that's pre-season done. And so, now, let's take a look at how things are shaping up. Right, so before we get into the pecking order, just to show you guys as well, I didn't mention this before, but we're building on the HQ. A lot of you guys were asking for me to build on the HQ. So I did consider doing Design Center, but that was 20 million. Would have put us in debt, and we already did the whole in debt at the start of the season thing last year, and it wasn't that great, even though we are getting a lot of money per race, 3.3 million to be exact. I thought it's not worth it, really. Design Center, I don't personally see the use for having an extra level in level 3. Most teams that we've got right now in F1 in the AI are only on level 2 as well. So I've built a wind tunnel and a brakes R&D center. So I've got 2 different buildings on the build right now, and we're still on the green. We've still got 1.3 million to play with, even after I've spent the money on these 2, which I think were 8 million and 7 million. That will get brakes up to great and front wing up to great. So everything, in theory, if we do the iterations, we can build up to a great part, which I think this year more than ever we're going to need, especially for things like the brakes and the front wing, because they've never been the best. I mean, front wing we've been pretty good at. Brakes, not so much. And we're definitely going to have to look into, working on the gearbox and the suspension quite a lot this year. I might even look into later on building upon and trying to get an epic suspension array going, because that will be really useful, because we've always been very weak on suspension. And speaking about the team as a whole, if we go to the cars, let's take a look at then the on-paper pecking order. Obviously, take this with a pinch of salt, because we clearly saw last season the AI do make a big difference in how it fluctuates. This year, maybe less due to that whole new regulations of the driver aids, but we'll see. But overall, Ferrari still once again the best car on paper, but they only won 1 race last year, which was the last race with Sebastian Vettel. Mercedes second, Red Bull third. To be fair to Hamilton, Williams are actually still on paper 4th best, so Hamilton and Williams could be a dark horse this season. Force India looking okay. We're still P6, so we haven't gone down, we haven't gone up. We're kind of still in the middle there, so I'm okay with that. And this year, we're definitely going to build on this car. Last year, we didn't really do that. Sauber, they've been obviously promoted back into F1, and they're straight up into 10th place, so they're looking pretty damn good. Obviously, that's a lot of work to do for them, but if Sebastian Vettel can help them drag the car up from 10th place there, they could, spring some surprises this season. Overall, we've still got a really good engine, still lacking on suspension, and like I said, gearbox and the front wing is actually looking okay, but gearbox, brakes might have some work to do, but in general, I'm still feeling pretty confident about this season. Red Bull lead the way in pre-season testing, though, apparently. And finally, before we go, we've got the negotiation for this season now. So are we targeting first, or are we going to target third? Because that will add on to how much payment we're going to get for this season. So either 3.8 million per race if we're targeting first place, or we're going to get 3.04 for targeting third. That's only a difference of 700k. Or no, 800k. That's only a difference of 800k. I say only. It is only due to the amount of money we're getting in sponsorship right now these days. So I'm going to go and play it safe. We're going to go for third and go for 800k less, because you never know, once we get this slot 6 sponsor in, we might make that up. So I'm going to go safe, because I don't fancy having my job in jeopardy here. So we'll go for third, 3.04 per race. So financially, we should be taking in quite a bit, I think. So that's where we're going to end off the video then, guys, and we're going to leave it till next episode to actually start the season at the Australian Grand Prix. If you guys did enjoy the pre-season video here, going through all the crazy transfers, like, I knew that all these drivers were on low contracts, and so I didn't really know how the game was going to react to it, because the game, thankfully, is quite awesome in terms of it. It's not very bland like real life is. The game kind of just does these really random transfers, and so we've ended up with a really interesting grid. And I'm very much looking forward to Season 5, you know? I think with the rule changes and everything like that, and with the drivers we've signed with Verstappen, I think we've set it up to be a very, very intriguing season. Last year, there was a little bit of worry in the back of my head that, oh, is the series kind of gone a little bit stale now because we're winning everything? But I think now it's almost like been a huge reset in a way with all these transfers. And for us as a team, we've now got a challenge again to try and fight back against the big dogs. And who knows, Williams might be in there with Hamilton, Sauber and Vettel might be somewhere in the midst. But it's all going to be Forza Alfa Romeo, guys. So let's hope we're going to be shouting Bravissimo a few times this next season. But if you have enjoyed the preseason and are looking forward to Season 5, smash that like button, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments below if you're excited for Season 5. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been over. Home trust today, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.